Educational Rockstars, welcome back to the Teacher Blab Show. I am your host, Farrah. I'm here with Misty and Rochelle and Julie, and we are back for another week of the Teacher Blab Show. We are so excited that you have joined us tonight. We have a special guest that is going to be coming on very, very soon, Miss Donna Hamblin, and she is going to be sharing with us some tips for running a summer reading program, summer reading for her students. She's going to share how she does that, and we'll bring her on momentarily. Ladies, how are you this week?
Hey, good. Good.
They're like, good. Are you glad it's over?
Yes. Yes and no.
Yeah, it's been a rough yesterday, but it's looking up.
Looking up. Rochelle, I see all of your background is down.
That came down on Thursday after my last class. I already brought it back to school and put it all away. I'm hoping that I'm not going to have to take it back out. But if I do, I still have my setup for my camera or my phone still up there if I have to. But that's put away. I do miss the kids, though. I didn't notice like how much routine it was when I saw them every morning at 9. And like I feel like I'm lacking purpose. Even though it's technically summer, so I'm okay, but like, let's be real, like I'm prepping now.
Yeah, you know, that's what we do. That's what I've been doing. I mean, you're printing and laminating because I don't want to get stressed out, and that's what we do. Well, I'm gonna have to take some tips from you about your little classroom thing if we have to, you know, do a little virtual thing going on.
Well, big shout out to Kelly for joining us. She said, I finally got to catch y'all live, and then she says, lighting looks great. That is hilarious. Lighting looks great. We have been working on this, working hard on this to get our lighting just right. Misty is not in the dark this week, and Julie has got great lighting going on over there too. Rochelle,
although she was in the dark yesterday.
Well, she was. Misty was in the dark yesterday. She lost. She lost power at her house. So, ladies, our hot topic tonight, we do have a guest, so I do want to jump in, but shout out to everybody who's joining us live. I know that I've got some very, very dear friends that are on here who are sharing us. Robin, missed you too last week. She says, missed you guys last week. Aww. Listen, I'm going to be real honest with you. We kind of planned on doing a show, and then I messaged the girls because I was still on the road trying to get to our destination, and I said we're taking the week off for the holiday because I wasn't completely sure I was going to make it to our destination in time. We were stuck in Houston traffic trying to get to Conroe, so it was a nightmare, and we didn't get in until about 9:30, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But we are so glad to be back this week. Hope you all had a great Memorial Day weekend. However, our hot topic this week, it is going to be a really, really hard topic to talk about, and that is what is going on in, I'm sorry, I've got somebody decided to go by with their loud truck outside. It is a really hard topic. So if you have been watching the news this week, then you have seen all of the hubbub and outrage over George Floyd. And if you have not seen this, then you need to get on and you need to go read about it. And it is something that has been on my heart all week about what has happened, especially coming from the fact that I am married to a law enforcement officer. Hold on just a second, ladies. I apologize. He's pulling my dog out of here. Sorry, he didn't realize that we were live already. But because I'm married to a law enforcement officer, and I know for him, it was really, really hard because obviously not all police officers are like that, and it was hard for him to see somebody putting a tarnish on his profession like that but it was equally as hard for us to see that another needless death for a Black man in our community who just, I watched it and I was outraged. And my heart just absolutely hurt because it's just enough is enough. And I want everybody to have a chance to chime in on it. One of the things that has been really helpful for me this week is the fact that I have 3 very, very dear friends that I taught with at Beta Academy in Houston. And we've remained friends even after we left there. And they were very gracious. They are all 3 teachers of color, and they were very gracious this past week to jump into chat with me and let me work through some of my own privilege issues that I didn't even really realize were there. And it was something that was very hard for me, but they were gracious enough to let me do it and talk through some of those things. So what ladies, chime in here.
I didn't see it, and because I can't. But I did see the comments of what was said, and it's very tragic. And yeah, I see everybody on our post and stuff, and I don't know. It's just can't believe it happened again. You know,
Rochelle, were you able to?
I only saw on social media when it was being covered, but I hate to admit this, but I don't want to watch the news anymore because nothing good is coming from the news. And so I'd rather stay sadly in the dark because I have like my family that's kind of watching my back. So if anything big comes up, I do hear about it. But just nothing good comes from the news anymore. I'm tired of hearing about deaths from everything that were going on. There was one like a couple of months ago that I did see that, and that is horrendous to see. And so I just it's too heavy on my heart to even want to watch the news anymore because I want to see somebody covering something like baby penguins or jumping at the zoo. Like that's what I want to see on the news, but like that ain't happening right now. So I'm hearing about it, but I'm hearing about it maybe like a day or 2 behind because I'm hearing about it on social media.
Well, you know, for me, it was, I mean, I saw it immediately, and Julie, I'm assuming that you've seen it.
I've seen it. Yeah.
You've seen the video. And honestly, the image that came across social media was the 3-part image where it almost was like they caught stills from the video at each point. And it was almost like seeing 3 points in succession. And I just went, what in the world? And the last photo there, and then of course seeing the video, that there was a video released, and I think it's been taken down. You can literally see the life slipping away from this man. Yeah. And I can tell you that as a police officer's wife, yes, obviously there is there is that side of being, a former police officer's wife. There is that side that you deal with, and you know that he goes out there and he's having to make arrests like this when he was on the job all the time. But I can tell you that no officer with any integrity would have ever acted that way. But it just absolutely infuriates me that this is even an issue. And one of the things that really has hurt my heart over the past couple of days since it's happened, and not just been other instances that have happened, has been because I've seen how we have a platform where the 4 of us are obviously white teachers. And I know for myself, I have a platform on Instagram. I have a platform on Facebook where I have, I have a platform that I can speak from, and I never speak from it. And I think a lot of white teachers don't. And I really had to start unpacking why. Why do I not post? Why do I not post that this is unacceptable? Why do I not say that this is unacceptable? Why do I not stand up? because it hurts my heart and I don't agree with it but why do I not say anything? And so that was something that over the last week or so, that's been something that my very dear friends of mine have been so gracious to help me work through. But I definitely went into this going, no, it stops now, because we have a platform here at the Blab Show where we can stand up and we can say, this is not acceptable. This has got to stop. When do we as a country, as a world, step back and say, when are we going to stop passing judgment on things with regard to people's skin color? And I don't know the answer, but I do know that I can work on my own biases and my own prejudices, and I will be the first one to say, I used to sit back, and y'all have heard me say this. I can sit back and say that I'm not racist. I can sit back and say that I don't care what color you are, what gender you are. I don't care if you're gay or lesbian, if you are transgender. I don't care, as long as you're a good human. But the fact of the matter is if I don't look at my own actions to make sure that my own actions align with that, and I'm not willing to unpack some biases that I do have with regard to things, whether it be a teacher that taught in certain school districts, or whether it be a white girl that grew up in a community of mostly Mexican families, and the fact that I went in my high school, we had one Black family. And so I was very sheltered with regard to that until I got out into the world. Or it be the fact that I'm married to a police officer and I have some biases from that action as well. So I think it's very important. What do you girls think about making sure we unpack our own biases and to help be a solution and not part of the problem? So anyway, what do you think?
I think it's important. We're teachers, and we don't know what little baby is going to walk into our classroom, regardless of color or what they believe. I'm going to teach them regardless. Because if you walk in and you say that you have something against any type of skin color, that immediately puts a disadvantage on one of your students that walks in that had no choice of the matter.
Right.
You are now not going to provide the education that you signed a contract to say that you were going to give that child. And so I feel like, as a human being, I feel like you need to make the choice to be a bigger person. But as a teacher, those babies need you to love them regardless of anything.
I think, was it Ron Clark? I think he has it as a genealogy on people, and they learn about every single culture. Because I know I have a lot of different cultures in me. Cherokee Indian and Cajun, I'm sure a lot of others. So if we can just learn to appreciate every culture and learn about it, and then we can appreciate each other more.
Yeah, Johnny, that is such a true. From Minneapolis to Central Park, this country has issues. If people can't see the nexus between protests and the Boston Tea Party, yeah, I've been seeing the images that have been floating around talking about they're looting. Y'all are upset because they're looting and they're destroying, but then they show the image of the Boston Tea Party. And the fact is that people are hurting, and this is something, I don't have to ever walk into a store or walk into really any situation and ever have to worry about whether or not the color of my skin is going to prevent me from doing something or getting something. And that was something that I kind of had an aha moment about, was that's not something I'll ever have to experience. And so how can I possibly even imagine what it must be like to experience that? The other thing you were talking about, Rochelle, that was something that really hit me, because as a teacher who has prided herself on the past 20 years of being a teacher in classrooms, I just got through going through the K1 virtual conference for Get Your Teach On, and I went to Naomi and Lanisha's session on, and I cannot remember their handles. I know one of them, I believe, is the apron teacher, and the other one I can't remember. Carlonda is in the chat. Carlonda, if you will please let me know what their handles are. they did a session on literature. And I think this kind of leads into what we're going to be talking about tonight with our book clubs. And I think it's something we need to keep in mind, even when we're doing our book clubs or our summer reading for our students. They started talking about how we could do things differently with regard to the books that we read to our students. And something as simple as looking at the books that are typically read, especially at the K1 level. And those, all three of us can really relate to this, because I've read Read Like a Rock Star. Thank you, Kim. I've read Charlotte's Web with my students. I've read Chrysanthemum with my students. All of these traditional stories that we read with our students, Pete the Cat, and those are fun to have. Those are fun to do. And we use them to teach certain skills or certain lessons with our students. But I have, in all of my years teaching, I taught predominantly Black and brown students. Yes, it doesn't mean that I didn't have white students in some of my classrooms, but they were that was the minority with regard to my classrooms and as far as the demographics. And I think about the fact of the disservice that I did to these students because I did not read stories that had characters that they could relate to. And I thought, wow. And when I had a very emotional moment this afternoon, because it made me really look back, and I know I was a good teacher, but I could have done better. And it's just something that I think if I went back into the classroom, it's definitely something that I would be aware of going back into the classroom. So, I mean, I know, Rochelle, you teach in Arizona. So your students are predominantly brown, correct? You're teaching predominantly Hispanic and immigrant students.
I have a few. The district or the school that I'm in, I write ILLPs for a few of my students. I had 2 last year, and for the first time, it wasn't an ILLP for Spanish speaking. He spoke Russian, which I thought was super cool.
Wow. That would be cool.
And he was cute because it was different. And so he would teach the kids like words that they would never typically hear. But yeah, I do have quite a few, I have quite a few kiddos of color. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just something that we need to keep into perspective because we need to make it a safe place for our students. Shirai says, and I'm going to share this because this right here, it sums it all up. And Shirai, you are not the only person that I have heard say that. My dear friend Carlonda has said it. And it is so true. And it's time to stop being just because, and I think one of the things, and I talked to the girls about this, I think part of the problem is that we as white educators are afraid we're going to say the wrong thing. At least for me, that's been my big thing as a white educator. Am I going to say the wrong thing? And I was watching a couple of documentaries over the past couple of days, and inside one of the documentaries, the guy that was doing the documentary was asked what does white privilege mean to you? And they were passing the microphone. And one of the gentlemen that was about to talk said, well, hold on, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And he said, no. He said, say the wrong thing, but be willing to be corrected if you do say the wrong thing. Because I think our voices matter just as much, and we need to be part of the fight. And we need to be able to stand up, but we need to be able to come from a place of a good heart. And even if we say the wrong thing, just allow yourself to be corrected if you say the wrong thing. And don't become offended because you got corrected. And don't immediately jump into that mindset of, well, I was just trying to help, and then get offended. So just know that you have a voice. Your voice, if you are a white educator, your voice matters. And it's time that we all stood together, and it's not just teachers of color. It's not just people of color. It's not just their fight. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now.
I know, look, 20 minutes. We're like 5-10 minutes.
I know. All right. So having said that, make sure you're putting some diversity into your books this summer and next year. going into the classroom. Yes, Carlonda, the point is to say something. And if you are in a staff meeting, if you are in a meeting with teachers, whatever it might be, and you see this happen to your fellow teachers, don't wait to go to their classroom after it's happened to tell them how wrong it was. Stand up and say something immediately right there. So I'm going to say that. But we have a very special guest tonight, and this was a hard. I'm not going to lie, that was a little hard to admit some of those things, considering that I went to high school with this young lady that is going to be coming on right now. So she knows darn good and well what our high school was like when we were growing up. And but she is now a 7th grade teacher. She's a 7th grade ELAR teacher at a school in Lubbock, which is the big town right outside our hometown. And she actually teaches at a school that is right across the street from a school that I taught at for 10 years. And Miss Donna Hamblin, I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Hello, Donna.
Hi. Hello.
I know I bring her on right after such a intense, heated, or not heated, but intense topic. But she teaches students, predominantly students of color. And so I know that this is something that she probably deals with on a regular basis with regard to her girls. She does teach at a all-girls school, and I want to make sure I get all of this correct. So she has been teaching for 16 years. She just finished teaching her 16th year. She's taught 6th through 8th grades, but 7th grade is definitely her favorite. She's currently teaching 7th grade at Talkington School for Young Women Leaders in Lubbock. And she's married with 2 children, 3 dogs, and she loves reading, word puzzles, and gardening. Girl, you go with the gardening.
I'm good at it. I just said I love it.
So welcome to the Blab Show. How are you tonight?
I am doing well. I'm so excited to be here. This is so much fun. So I'm super excited to be here.
Well, I won't say that we always get so intense, but you know, it's about to get even more real because we've got some other big news that's coming up at the end of the show, but that the girls don't even know about yet. So tell us a little bit about what it's like teaching at an all-girls school, because that's interesting.
Not as scary as it sounds. Our girls' school is 6th through 12th grade. And it's amazing to watch the camaraderie amongst the students, especially because you have your older students who kind of take in those younger students and are role models for them and take care of them and help them through that path of going through. Because y'all know how difficult middle school and high school can be. But it's amazing to watch the relationships that take place there. And when you remove the boy factor, you remove a lot of the drama, believe it or not. There's still a little bit, but we have some girls with hearts of gold. They're amazing. They amaze me every day.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So you teach at ELAR. Is that all you've taught is ELAR, or have you taught other subjects?
Over the years, I've done yearbook. I've done journalism. I have mostly ELAR. I've done tax prep back when it was tax test and STAR remediation and things like that. But all of it centers around reading and writing.
Well, I can listen, like I said, we went to high school together, so that does not surprise me because you were like English guru when we were in high school. She loved reading and she loved writing. So that does not surprise me at all. So this summer reading, so kind of give you a little bit background. I saw a post that Donna shared on her Facebook where she was talking about setting up her summer reading for her distance learning for her students. And I said, whoa, okay. I mean, I want to know more about this. And I think that our viewers would love to know more about this. And yes, she does teach 7th grade, but I told her, I said, I want you to come on and talk about it basically from the perspective of doing it through the online platform and that you're using. And then we would be able to kind of talk about how you could do this with the lower grades and so forth. But I do know that we have some upper elementary teachers that watch, and so they might get some ideas about that. So Donna, if you want to, first, you told us behind the scenes in our virtual green room that you're actually running 2 different ones right now.
I am.
2 different readings.
I'm doing just a book club for my 7th graders who just graduated to 8th grade last week. They didn't want to stop meeting over the summer. And so I told them, okay, well, if you guys want to get on once a week and talk books with me, let's just start the Crazy Book Lovers Club. And so I did, and I just created a Google Classroom and gave them the code, and whoever wanted to do that could log in with that code and join that class. And so we meet once a week and we just talk about books they're reading. We give book recommendations and suggestions. And sometimes we even just sit together online and just read. It's the most amazing thing.
Okay, that's pretty awesome to just sit there and read, because that's something that you would be, that silent reading time, it's something you'd probably be doing in your classroom. I know that's in our TEKS, is what they have to have a certain amount of silent reading time. And so that's something you would be doing if you were in your classroom already. So I'm excited to see how you're setting this up using a digital platform, especially for a summer reading where there's not a lot of assignments, I guess, that are going on, other than you're probably setting some things up so that you can track what they're doing. But I'm excited to see it. So I'm going to let you share your screen and take over. We're going to kind of step off to the back. Guys, if you have any questions for Donna as she's on here talking, be sure and leave those in the comments. Ask as you're going, and we will kind of jump in and answer, or we'll answer in the chat and so forth. But we're going to turn it over to Donna and let her share her screen. So let's see if you got this.
Okay. Here I go. Can y'all see what's happening here?
Yes.
Okay. So I chose the book Wonder this year. I've never taught it before. I read it many years ago, so I'm currently rereading it so that I'll be on the up and up. But Wonder is the book that I chose this year, and I have this set up as a Google Slides, and it's an interactive Google Slides. And so, of course, I have the title slide here, and then on the next slide, I have just some information that they need to know. Sorry, my mouse is wacky. Read the book from cover to cover. This is kind of their instructions. You can do this as you read. And I do have assignments for them to do over summer reading, but I've created a choice board and I think it's pretty fun. Hopefully they will too. So I'll show you that in just a second. And here I give them exactly what they need to know. Assignments are going to be posted separately in Google Classroom. And I'll share my Google Classroom with you in just a second so that you can see what that looks like. I have it set up where when they click a link on the choice board, they have to make a copy in order to access the assignment. And that way it just kind of keeps things organized and they don't start typing on my template. And then they're going to have a research project, and then I give them my information so that they can contact me. The next slide is a link to the PDF version of the novel. I actually ordered real novels last year. Of course, they're in our distribution center and we can't get to them because of the COVID business. And so fortunately, I was able to find a PDF version of the book. And then I also linked an audio version of the book so they can read it, they can listen to it, follow along with it, whatever they need to do. Now, this is their biography research. And I don't want them writing on this copy, so I stuck this, big red don't write here. I have to assign this individually in Google Classroom to each student. And I've already had probably, 10 or 12 turn these in. So they're already starting on their summer reading. And so everybody has to do research on the author. And then this is the part that I think is super fun. Here is their choice board. They have to choose 3 activities to complete. And then each of these activities is a separate assignment in Google Classroom. So once they make a copy of it and complete the activity, all they're going to have to do is attach that copy of their assignment that they completed to the assignment in Google Classroom. And that's going to make it easy for me to keep track of who's doing what activity, and it's all in one spot and it's all turned in one place. And so when they click on the link here, it's going to ask them to make a copy, and that way they can access it. So let me just go ahead and show y'all what this looks like. Can y'all still see where it says?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, you're using Google Classroom for your distance learning. Is that what y'all chosen to use for your district?
Yes, and I'm a Google certified teacher and have been for 6 or 7 years. I just renew that whenever it expires. And I've used Google Classroom for forever. And to me, it is so easy for students and teachers to work with.
Well, since you said that, we're going to go ahead right now and invite you back because we're going to be doing a tech summer. And one of the things on one of our weeks is finding somebody to come over and come on and actually do a tutorial on Google Classroom. So everything set up. So now that I know that, we'll just get Donna to come back and go through that with us. But okay, so when you're setting this up, you're doing one story. You're not doing multiple stories.
No, just one book for summer reading.
Because I think for me, I was thinking that it was like, well, they need to read so many books this summer as opposed to just doing the one book.
Right.
And I can totally see how even for what y'all can't see off camera is my son reaching in to bring me a Diet Coke.
If you're alive, just tell him to wave and go.
Just put a hand in.
I'm like, you can't see because he's off screen. But so Rochelle, and I'm thinking Misty, even third grade, Julie and Misty, we have a tendency with our summer reading to give them a list of books they need to read versus just the one book. Now, Donna, what I'm thinking, especially with seventh grade, you're probably, doing a book like Wonder. It's a longer book, but do you have an opinion as to why one book versus many books might be better?
I like the one book idea because I can carry it as a theme throughout the school year. In fact, the first 2 weeks of school, we're going to be doing projects with Wonder. I could see the value in doing several different books, but I think focusing on one, everybody's kind of in the same spot. Nobody's at an advantage or disadvantage for, reading quickly or not being able to access the books or anything like that. And it's a monetary expense. Our school purchases the books for students. And so I can't imagine trying to purchase multiple books. And I really, with the demographics that I teach, it's not fair for me to ask them to buy different, multiple books.
Yeah, I can totally, I can totally.
That idea, just based on our grade level, find a chapter book.
Yeah.
Now, I know in our upper grades that they're required to read 3 or 4 novels, not necessarily throughout the summer, but most of the girls will read them through the summer so that they don't have to read them during the school year. And so it's also, grade-based.
Well, that's true. Now, I can see even, in the lower grades with that first grade through, especially, because I would say probably second grade and up. For our first graders that just left first grade, I could see having those shorter chapter books and doing the same type of thing with a shorter chapter book. What do you think, Rochelle? Do you think your kids could do that with a shorter chapter book?
My first graders that I get during the year, or the ones that just left?
The ones that just left. If you were sending it with them for the summer.
Oh.
Because
some of them
Erie Elementary, it's like a second grade chapter book, and we do discuss it. So there are a few. I don't know if you, Rochelle, if you heard of Erie Elementary, but they have those little small books. I think would be very suitable. But like what you said, it just depends. I would say you're thinking depends on the class and what time, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have some kiddos that would totally rock the Magic Treehouse series.
Yes,
it totally fits them because I feel like my class that just left me was very imaginative, head in the clouds, liked adventures kind of class. And so I feel like Magic Treehouse would have been a good book for them. And that's usually when parents ask what they think they're ready for. It's usually one of my go-tos because there's some pictures to help them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And it's something that they can kind of hang on to. And there's a lot of actual facts that they're learning inside of that book too. It's not just a fun adventure book, but there's stuff to talk about. And I used to do a book club with those books. And one of the pages was what clothes did Jack and Annie turn or change into, and why did they change into those clothes? And we would talk about where they traveled and why they would change their clothes for the area that they went to. And sorry,
I didn't mean to laugh. I'm messaging Donna over here going, we lost you. And she's like, my computer died.
I figured y'all were messing. That was so funny.
So we've all been there. Well, and I was thinking mainly, Donna, I liked that you said on that one page you shared a link to the digital version of the book as well as an audio version of the book. And I think that that's really differentiating that for your students. And that's something that you could do with even lower grades. So do you have students? Because I think it would be, I'm sure, so I've never taught 7th grade, but I'm sure that with 7th graders, you've still got different reading levels.
Yes, for sure. And I have students who struggle. I have dyslexic students, and it is so hard for them to enjoy the book because they are spending so much brain power trying to decipher the book and just trying to get it read and trying to understand it. And so if I can provide for them a means where they can hear it and look at it, then they're not spending so much brain time trying to decipher it. And I want to point out Jessica's comment over here. She said, critical thinking on one subject may be valuable rather than volume of reading. And I agree. This is about quality versus quantity. So
now, what made you choose Wonder? I'm just curious.
Well, our 6th grade teacher is reading, it just left me. Hold on. Oh gosh, Out of My Mind. That's what she's reading. And
I love it.
And I really wanted something that I could tie back to that book so that they can start making connections between literature. And I loved the book Wonder when I read it. And I think that right now in our society, learning kindness is just something that we all need. We all need a reminder to be kind. We all need a reminder to just love people. Doesn't matter what they look like. You know, in light of the George Floyd issue, you know, that's something that we're going to talk about in my classroom because that's something that's near and dear to the hearts of my students. And if I can relate it to literature and show them how this piece of literature is significant, even in your life today, then that's huge. And that gets them thinking on a broader horizon and a broader spectrum.
Well, and I think that's what we were talking about, or, you know, when we started this episode, was talking about, you know, when we're picking books to read with our students, we need to make sure that they can make those connections because, you know, and I think about my own teaching, you know, in kinder, in 1st grade, well, all the way up through 5th grade, when we're talking about teaching those text to text connections and text to self connections and text to world connections. And here I am with a room full of Black and brown students, and I'm reading Charlotte's Web. And Charlotte's Web was a story that was very near and dear to me, but none of my students, that's because I grew up on a farm. None of my students did. Like, wait a minute, she's bottle feeding a pig inside her house. You know, they're like, what is going on? What is wrong with this girl? And so I never really thought about it that way. And I think that that's awesome that you are picking a story that you can relate to events, and then your students will be able to connect to. Because I think that is so important. And now talk about the activities that you're having to do, because I saw like all these choice boards and I'm like, wait a minute, I want to know. When I think summer reading, I think I just want them reading. I just want them reading. But you've got them actually doing projects.
Yes, I want them to interact with the book. I want them to, you know, do the things that we would do in a classroom. My activities center around things like figurative language and characterization and setting. And then I have some things about music in there. And I know that there's a movie for Wonder, and I've mentioned in there, don't just watch the movie, because I'm going to make sure that I know what the differences are. And I'm going to make sure that you didn't just watch the movie to do this. And I haven't seen the movie yet. I have a thing about I don't watch movies for books that I love because the movie tends to ruin it for me. But I am going to make an exception and watch the movie to this just so I'm on the same page as they are. But I have one in there where they have to come up with their own soundtrack. If they were to make this book a movie themselves, they have to come up with, I think I said 3 or 5 songs. I don't remember. They have to tell me which scene they would play the song and why they chose that scene for that song. And so, you know, just some things where they're really thinking about it on a deeper level and they're not just reading it and putting it back on the shelf. I really want them to take some things to heart when they're doing their summer reading.
I love that. They would love to make something. That would really keep them engaged. Oh no, they would.
I feel like
they're excited about that.
I feel like I need to join your summer reading because first of all, I'm like in the minority of teachers that have not seen nor read Wonder. So
I haven't.
Oh my God.
So you're not alone.
Oh, I haven't, Rochelle. I need to. I was like, oh, I wrote that down.
It's always like on my list of like I do want to read it, but I've just never read it because I'm a math. I like teaching math. I like the complete opposite of me.
I hear you.
I have to teach all subjects in first, but my passion is teaching math. So like I have to get through the morning with reading and then I get math in the afternoon. So
but I love teaching reading and writing.
I love reading.
I can't stand teaching math because math is so dry to me. There's no surprises. It's math.
Well, I think reading it's so cut like this is how you read and there's no other way around it. You just read for the
writing and discussion.
It's really a good book. It's really good.
And I have seen a lot of things now. I've seen a lot of activities for the book Wonder, even for lower grades. And I've read the book and I've seen the movie. I agree with Donna what she said about the movie ruining the book because it's kind of like Harry Potter. There's so much more in the book than there is in the movie. Yeah. And so, but the movie, like I said, the movie was okay to me. The movie whitewashed some things that really that the book really dove into. So, but I could totally
book though, right?
Huh?
Did they? I think I have it in my class. Like I bought it. Didn't they make Wonder into like a children's like picture book now?
I think so.
I want to say that there's a younger version.
Okay, because I think Scholastic makes it, and I got it at my book fair. And then put it on my shelf, and then I didn't read it because it was in my book box to read in May. It went with one of my ABC Countdown days, and so I put it in May, and then I never read it.
Now, I will say I was a little bit hesitant to choose it because some teachers do read it as a read aloud in the younger grades. But I finally decided, you can't just read a book once and get everything out of it the first time that you read it. And I think if, sorry, my tongue's out running my brain. Hold on. If I can get them to look at it as an older student, their perception and their perspective is going to change. And so I was a little bit hesitant because I know a lot of kids have read it and have seen the movie, but I really think that they're going to get a lot out of it. And I'm going to make sure that we work with it and do some things with it. So it's not just read and then forgotten.
Well, I think some of the activities that you have on your thing about making those connections to things that are going on in their world is important also. And I like the fact that you're not just giving them a summer reading list to check off books that they read. You're actually making them dive into the comprehension and making those connections in the book. I think that that's so important. So now my next question is did you create that lesson?
Sort of. With teachers, we beg, steal, and borrow all the time, right?
Yes.
And teachers pay teachers a fabulous thing, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I was going through and I was thinking about how am I going to teach this? What do I want them to get? Whatever. And of course, it's crunch time. I have 2 days to get my class code to the 6th grade teacher to give to her students so that they can log in and all that jazz. And I'm like, okay, you know what? This is such a popular book. I bet there's something on Teachers Pay Teachers. So I got on there and I did download a whole bunch of stuff I bought a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to use. But then as a teacher, you look at your students and you look at what they need and you begin to adapt the things that somebody else has done to suit your kids and your children. And so I can't take full credit for a lot of the assignments. But there are a lot of things that I've kind of tweaked that I think will work better for my kids.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So is this for a grade?
I'm sorry, say that again.
She asked if it was for a grade. I don't know.
Great Great question. Our district we do not take grades on homework. Okay. Anything that's completed at home is not for a grade. It does not count in the grade book. And so what I simply do is check and make sure they did it. And I will contact kids who aren't doing it just to say, hey, are you okay? Is there a problem? Is there something I can help you with to get this done? And then if I have kids who come the first day of school, because everything's due the first day of school, who haven't read it or haven't turned it in, then they get to sit off to the side and they get to read and do their assignments, their summer reading assignments right there in the classroom. While the rest of us who've read it and did our assignments, we're going to do some fun things, some fun projects, some group collaboration, and some hands-on things with the summer reading that they've already read.
So they're going to have to complete it one way or another.
Basically.
Jessica commented, so I know we might discuss it about the internet. So everyone, I know you were telling us earlier about that one-to-one, and they all have devices, right, if they need them?
Yes.
And
We do have a couple of students who are transferring in who don't have an LISD domain email address, and so they can't access Google Classroom, and they don't have their devices yet. And so all I do is print out a copy of everything and take it to our office, and they are contacted to come pick up their summer reading stuff.
Perfect.
So
I love this. Jessica also said, love the idea of contacting them for accountability. I think that's something to be said. We've all been dealing with which I haven't, because other than the fact that I've been trying to help so many teachers during distance learning with stuff. But you've all been dealing with teaching through distance learning and these platforms. And I think we're beginning to remember how important just that simple phone call home is. Mm-hmm. And I think that as teachers, we can get very lackadaisical when it comes to contacting parents, and we just contact them through email, or we just send a note home in the backpack or the Monday folder or the Friday folder or whatever it is. And throughout this distance learning, we've really had to communicate with parents a lot more than probably have before. And so I think that that's really important. I hope that trend continues when everybody goes back into their classrooms. So now, with regard to these lessons, I heard you mention a project in there. Are there most of the lessons and most of the assignments being submitted through Google Classroom, and then is there an actual physical project that they have to do besides the music? Or is that a project?
They have 9 different choices to choose from. And so they're all like individual projects, sort of. Some of them are assignments where they just go into a Google slide and fill out information. Some of them are things like the soundtrack, things like that. The actual project is going to happen that first week of school. And Robin had a great question. What about kids that move in that first week of school? 2 things. First of all, at Talkington, they have to apply to go to our school. So we rarely take students after the application deadline. So I don't really have to deal with that very much. But occasionally we will get a student who comes in the first couple of days, and I give them a week, which really isn't fair because most kids have had most of the summer. But our expectations are pretty high, and my expectations are pretty high. And so I give them about a week, sometimes a week and a half. And I say, okay, you've got to read this. And I might, give them a break. Instead of 3 projects, I want you to pick 1 that you're going to do really well. And so you just kind of adapt. It depends on the student, how much time you have to give them to catch up and things like that. So
she's adorable, by the way. She's like, thank you. I'm going to get in the camera now. I am super excited because this makes me want to go back to the classroom, because I can totally see, I can totally see how Rochelle, even with those incoming kindergartners coming in, just doing an audio book and then having them, sending an audio book for them to listen to, and then do projects, do a couple of, and obviously with first graders, you're not going to want like all these activities or whatever, but starting in that 2nd through, really through 6th grade, I can totally see how this would definitely be something that would help maintain some of that summer slide with regard to reading, without it being just read a list of books. because we all know, and I don't know about y'all, but my own kids, they usually got a summer reading list, and it literally was just a list of books they were supposed to read because these are the books that we're going to talk about during the year. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but both of my kids would wait till like the 2 weeks before school started, and they would crash these books, and they really didn't get anything out of them. So they were just reading to say they read. But so I love that. So any other tips that you might, as you're setting this up, Don, any other tips that you might share with us that are good to keep in mind when you're doing things for a summer reading?
I would say it was a little bit overwhelming at first trying to figure out how I was going to have them turn everything in, because the choice board is a great idea, but then trying to keep it organized so I don't lose my sanity, trying to keep up with 1,000 shared emails and all of that. And so really think about how can you best organize it so that you remain sane through the process. And for me, Google Classroom was the way for me to do that. And so really that's all. I just kind of mapped out what do I want them to get out of it and how easy am I going to make this on myself to keep up with, and how relevant am I going to make this book, not just for summer and summer reading, but throughout my classroom. And I already have things planned. I'm going to adopt Mr. Brown's precepts, and we're going to have a precept each month. They're going to come up with their own precepts at the beginning of the year. We're going to do some blackout poetry. I don't know if y'all know what that is.
No, share.
No, tell us.
Super fun. They're going to pick a page out of the novel, and I'm going to make a copy of it, and they're going to black out everything except certain words that create some sort of poetic idea from that page.
Wow. Blackout poetry. Okay.
Yeah, blackout poetry. You can Google it, and it'll, kind of tell you better than I can what it is. But that's essentially the idea, is to black out everything except for certain words, and you're creating a poetic idea based on that page of the novel. So.
Misty is like jotting down everything she can. From first grade to third grade, and she's like, I didn't know what to do with these third graders. She was so scared about going to third. What was the first grade they wanted you to go to? They wanted you to go to fifth?
Third or fifth. No, that's too. I feel like the little ones, and I don't know. The first to fifth, it seems like a tremendous jump, and especially I've taught first grade for 12 years. So
it is, because them boys have hormones. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Well, so Google Classroom, you use Google Classroom. Google Classroom is obviously and being a certified Google, that makes sense because, and your kids, are y'all a Google school?
I think so. I don't know about LISD. When I taught at Lubbock Cooper, we were a Google school. I think that we are. We mostly use on Google everything, so I would say yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, so Donna, if anybody has any questions, if they're wanting to implement this or they have questions for you, do you have an email address that they can email to ask questions?
Absolutely.
I'll let you put that in the comments. So don't hesitate if you have questions for Donna. We're going to get her back on to teach us all about Google Classroom at some point, because I've used Google Classroom. I love Google Classroom. I started the process to become a Google certified educator. I just haven't. But like I said, I've used it, but I feel I know enough to be dangerous inside Google Classroom. So we're going to let the expert who's used it a lot more recently than I have. Maybe Donna we can talk you to coming back on, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm so excited. Awesome. Yes, so we are going to be doing that summer reading, but thank you so much for coming on and sharing how you're setting that up. And I hope that our teachers and our audience were able to get some ideas, whether you're teaching first grade all the way up through middle school. Hopefully you can get some ideas on how you can set up a summer reading program or summer reading assignment for your students and get them reading this summer. Thank you so much, Donna.
Thank y'all for having me. This is so fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Donna, we're going to say bye to Donna, and then we're going to wrap up the show. Bye, Donna. Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.
Ladies, that was so awesome. I think I could totally see how I could do this with my first graders, even my incoming first graders, but definitely those outgoing first graders going into second grade. But what about doing this, something like this over the break? I mean, over a Christmas break.
Like Christmas break. Yeah, to keep their brains. Yeah. Brains
something like that. I could definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
I think there is something
Kelly said.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think there is something to when she said she only reads one because it's quality over quantity, because I remember I read The Giver when I was in 6th grade, and then they had me read it again when I was in high school, so like maybe 10th grade. And in 6th grade, I was like, I don't really care. And so I didn't get the book. And then when I read it in like 10th grade, I really enjoyed the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read it again as an adult, and I love that book. And so I feel like having them dig in and relate it to themselves so much, I feel like they're going to grow up, like they're going to relate it to what they are like at this point in time. And then they'll probably read it again when they're older and see it in a whole different light because they're at a different stage in their life. And there's something to that. Because I read the same book at 3 different stages in my life, and I took something different. Like the book was different to me every stage. So I do think one book and digging really deep into it, so you really take everything and embody what it needs, like what it's trying to teach you, and then read it again when you're older. It'll teach you all different lessons that you thought you already learned from it, like quality. Yeah. Also, I'm going to read Wonder now. That's my summer book.
Yeah, I have to read Wonder. I always think about The Outsider. In the 4th grade, we had one called The Outsider. Yeah, I mean, y'all know that. The Outsiders.
That sounds
familiar.
familiar.
I want to read it again. Wait, you ever had Pony?
Oh,
yeah.
Pony Boy. Oh,
yeah. Pony Boy. So we did that whole book study in 4th grade. Rashad, oh my God, I have to read it again.
Read it again. I'm telling you. I did that with that book, and then I've done it with like a few other books that stuck to me the most. And then I watched the movie and it totally ruined it. So I'm with you on that. Totally.
I'm not watching
the one. It was terrible, but those girls will read it when they're older and see it in a whole different light because they took so much from it as 7th graders or going into 8th grade. That then they will when they're older, and it's going to be an amazing thing. So, and that's such a good book to do that with, from what I hear, because I'm going to read it this summer.
Kelly has gone.
I love it.
Stay golden, Pony Boy, stay golden. That's so cute. Well, ladies, it's been a great show. I told you had a super exciting announcement. I'm not going to give all the little bits and pieces away. But we are going to be adding a co-host to the show, and I'm super excited about it. I'm just going to drop this little nugget. Somebody asked us, I believe it was week 3 that we were back, which one of you is Whoopi? And I'm just going to drop that little nugget because we are going to be adding a co-host. I'm super, super excited to bring her on. She agreed to come on. And I'm so excited about this. She's a very, very dear friend of mine, and I know we're all going to have so much fun adding her to the lineup. The girls don't know yet. They're going to find out after the show.
So wait, are we turning into a group of 5 now?
We'll be a group of 5. Yes.
Yes.
We will be a group of 5. I'm super, super excited.
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier, but not only that, she is going to bring a perspective that I cannot wait to have, and I'm super, super excited about it. So,
was she in the comments today?
I'm not saying
when is she starting?
I'm not saying next word.
You're not fair.
Next week, she has said she is ready for next week. I'm super, super excited, y'all. And she is an amazing teacher, an amazing friend, and I am so super excited about it. So,
and now I'm all nervous. Like, are we chat before we just jump in on Thursday? Like, can we meet her in chat?
You're just gonna jump in on Thursday and you're gonna meet her. So I'm super excited about it. Make sure that you are setting your students up for success this summer. Give them a summer reading project. I love all the ideas that Donna shared with us tonight. Thank you so much, guys. Everybody that was in the comment, you were fabulous.
Oh,
awesome. We love all of you guys that show up each week. And for those of you that catch it on the replay, What'd you say? What'd you say?
I said I so missed having a guest. I forget how fun it is to have a guest and just share their knowledge.
Yeah.
It's so fun having someone.
But we don't have to pop out.
Terrible. And Donna's still listening. She's still visiting with us. But I will tell you that Donna, on the former platform, when we had a guest, it only allowed 4 people on camera. So when we had a guest, one of us had to agree to sit out for the show, and it was so sad every time because we always had questions. And so we were so excited that we do not have that issue, and we're still not going to have that issue because we can actually still have 6 people on camera. So we will have 5 hosts, and we can still have that guest on. It'll be super, super exciting. I'm super excited for next week. Don't forget to, like I said, make sure your students are set up for success with regard to summer reading, but also don't forget, we are going to do, what's the hashtag again? I keep forgetting. Hashtag Digital Summer. Blab Digital Summer. Is it what we did? I don't remember. But we are going to thank you so much for giving us all of your feedback about that. I am starting to get the lineup set up. We've already secured our guest for Google Classroom. Come back. I'm going to try to get this set up so that I'm not looking at my screen and I can actually look at the camera and not feel like
I'm doing the same thing. I keep looking over at my screen and
I'm trying to look at Google and then I'm looking here. But we're super excited. But yes, so, and remember, if you see it and it's wrong, stand up, say something. Don't be silent. Make sure your voice is heard. And like I said, when it's wrong, you just got to stand up and you got to say it's wrong. And don't be scared, because you might, if it comes from a good place and your heart is good, you might say it the wrong way. Don't be offended if somebody corrects you on something that you say. Just take it and learn and become and do better when you know better. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us tonight. I'm super excited. Ladies, it's been so fun. All right, guys, we will see you next week on the flip side. Bye, guys.